Hello dear learners, this is Neurologist welcoming you from NS English Corner. Hope you are watching, you are following my channel, and please subscribe to my channel if you are new. And let's learn today simple to complex. This is a new topic, simple to complex, as I'm going with changing sentences. And now we will change simple to complex with these things in spite of, by, without, because of, at the time of, to, and to. So these are the symbols that you find in simple sentences, and now we will change. You see in the beginning, in example A, in spite of his poverty he is honest. That means, though he has poverty, he is honest. So this is a phrase and there is no subject and finite verb. There is only one clause, principal clause, he is honest. So we know when we want to make any clause, we need a subject and a finite verb. So definitely we have to change this phrase into a clause. For this we have to write though first. You can also write although. Though and the subject he and the verb is. You see, though he is. Now you have to do something different. Poverty is a noun, but you cannot write a noun here. You have to write an adjective instead. Though he is poor. Now this is a clause. This is a subordinate clause. And we need to write the principal clause here. He is honest. So you do not need to change the principal clause. You can write it unchanged. He is honest. Now you see the subordinate clause. Though he is poor, comma, he is honest. We have changed this phrase into this clause with though. So you can write, you can remember in spite of. If you see in spite of, you have to write though when you are going to change into complex. And write the relevant verbs and other things separating with comma, and write the principal clause unchanged. And now question number B, you see by reading, by. Simple sentence starting with by, and there is a comma and there is a participle phrase. By reading newspaper. This is prepositional phrase. By reading newspaper, we can gain knowledge. So you can keep this principal clause again unchanged here. So what you have to do for this by, we have to write if. Suppose if we, the subject, if we read newspaper, separating with comma, we can gain knowledge. We can gain knowledge. So the subject, we must write a subject in clause, and if is the beginning, because by. If you see by, and when you are going to change it into complex, you have to write an if. If we read newspaper, and this is the condition of gaining knowledge. If we want to gain knowledge, we need to read newspaper. So we can say if we read newspaper, and as this is in present simple, you have to write it in present simple. If we read newspaper, comma, we can gain knowledge. Now this is complex. This is subordinate clause and this is principal clause. And the opposite rule here, without. Without taking preparation, you cannot do well. If you do not take preparation, you cannot do well. So you can write if you, because the subject is you. If you do not take, you have to write it in present simple tense because this is in present simple tense. Preparation, you cannot do well. You cannot do well. So in case of without, you need to bring a negative here. Do not take. If you see without in the beginning of simple sentence and you are going to change it into complex, then you have to write if, subject and negative. If you do not take preparation, you cannot do well. So this is complex. And now we have question number 4. I could not come. This is past tense. I could not come to class because of my illness. You see, because of, this shows a reason. The reason is my illness. So we can write the principal clause first. I could not come to class. So we have to write the subordinate clause from this as, for this, because of, you can write since or as. Since or as. This also shows reason of something. Since, now you have to write the subject because the subject is here I. As I, and this is a past tense, then you have to write the was. As I was. In that case, you have to write the adjective form also, like this. This one. So this is now subordinate clause. Since I was ill. Since I was ill, this phrase has changed into a clause in past tense because this is in past tense. Since I was ill, I could not come to school. If you write, I could not come to school since I was ill. And if you want to put this one in the beginning, then you have to write a comma separately. E. So at the time of his reading, you see here, at the time of, this is a phrase, he is reading. I knocked the door. I knocked the door at the time of his reading. For at the time of, what you have to write. So for this, at the time of, because this indicates a time, so you have to write when in the beginning of complex sentence, that means subordinate clause, when he, because at the time of reading, that means he was reading, so you have to write the past continuous tense at the time of, that means something was happening at the, when I knocked the door. When he was reading, because this is in past tense, you can write the past continuous tense because something was going on at the time when I knocked the door. When he was reading, and write the principal clause. I knocked the door. I knocked the door. Now, so you can write at the time of, instead of at the time of, you can write when in the beginning of complex sentence. So write the appropriate subject um, and the verb. So F. He is too weak to work. Here you see two. This indicates something quite like negative. So you have to write a negative here. He is, instead of to we can write so. He is so weak. Write the adjective here. He is so weak. Now write that. So that he is so weak that, like this. Then bring the subject here, as the subject is saying he cannot work. As I said, this means something negative, that he is so weak that he cannot work. He is so weak he cannot work. That means he is too weak to work. So when you see two and two, this is in simple, and you have to write so and that when you are going to make it complex. So instead of to so, and instead of to, here you can write that and then the subject and cannot or could not. If you see it is in present tense, then you have to write cannot, and if it is in past tense, you have to write could not. So he is so weak that he cannot work. So hope you have understood this lesson, and if you practice, you will do well in the exam and for improving your English. Thank you very much. Please follow Anna's English Corner and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.